Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor. Today we're out driving this 2021 Volkswagen Arteon. This thing is loaded up, coming in at just a hair over $48,000. That's a lot of coin to justify for a gussied up Volkswagen Passat. So, who is this car for and why should you buy it? Let's go figure that out. Right off the bat, a few things to mention. If you want to see some more detailed videos on the Arteon, we've got a dedicated review to the Harman Kardon sound system. So the link to that is in the description, as well as a dedicated review for the highway fuel economy on this thing. We head out on highway and do 70 miles per hour for 100 miles, get a real world result. That link is in the description as well. And lastly, if you want to have a more meaningful impact on Daily Motor, take a look at our membership options. We recently offered a membership that allows you, depending on your tier, to check out some ad-free customized sound system tests on our vehicles. And if you pay a little bit more per month, you can have input on what sort of things you see in our vehicle test reviews. So for example, if you want to see something particular, like how the glove box sounds when you close it, you can throw that into a vehicle request sheet as a member, and we will make that happen for you. So back to this Arteon. It's a pretty face. It looks excellent both inside and out. It's fitted with quality Volkswagen materials and engineering. It feels like a well-built product. But when you're talking this top-level SEL premium, R design, all the goodies, gadgets, and features, you're starting to look into well-equipped CPO luxury car money. Someone in our live drive asked, would you get this or would you just get an Audi Q5? And they raise a good point. We're getting well up to that sort of money. And at the end of the day, the Arteon doesn't provide a whole heck of a lot from a driving and ownership perspective that other cars in this class don't. You've got all of your quote-unquote necessities for a high-trim new car. You've got heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which I really appreciate. You've got adaptive cruise control, a decent self-driving assist, all the safety features, and good looks and materials to boot. But a Honda Accord or Toyota Camry will give you the same amount of usability and just about the same amount of features, admittedly not quite as pretty, but for a much more understandable price. Not only that, but you're going to get more efficiency too. Now, granted, this thing is rocking 4Motion all-wheel drive, so that resulted in a bit of a ding to fuel economy. But even the front-wheel drive version is not getting outstanding numbers, and this isn't a super high-powered engine. This 2-liter turbo is nothing to write home about. It's plenty adequate for daily driving, but it's not going to set your hair on fire. And this 8-speed automatic gets clumsy. From strictly a driving perspective, I'd much rather be behind the wheel of a Honda Accord. And while the Camry might not be too engaging to drive, you can get that 300 horsepower V6, which will trounce this thing. And while the American auto manufacturers are giving up on family sedans like this Arteon, there are a lot of other brands who are still giving it their all. You've got the new Hyundai Sonata, which is excellent, and you can get that in the N-Line form for around this price. Looks good, drives better, and is much faster, comes with all the good features. You also got Kia's K5, which admittedly I'm not a huge fan of, but a lot of people like, and it's quite good. And when you're talking nearly $50,000, you also start to get into other more luxury sedans. You've got BMW 3 Series for around that price. You could get into some of the smaller Mercedes sedans, Audi sedans. Heck, you could even get yourself a Tesla Model 3 long range and go EV for this money. So the main appeal of the Arteon is the looks. And I'll fully admit, I think this is the best looking car in this segment. But it takes a pretty particular buyer to plop down new car money, expensive new car money, on a car that they're mostly just getting for looks. From a personal standpoint, I'm not a big fan of all these capacitive buttons around the car. I'm not a big fan of how the car tries to be smarter than you. It'll turn on heated or cooled seats at weird times. It'll be like 35 degrees outside, and I'll get in and start, and the cooled seat will start blasting. Not only that, but the climate control menu is not working for me right now, so there's no way for me to synchronize my climate controls. Press this menu button and I'm not getting anything. That was after a vehicle restart as well, so I don't know what's up with that. So the car's trying to be cool, trying to be fancy with its big map option here. You can see I get the full, beautiful navigation screen in the gauge cluster, but that means I don't get a navigation screen on the center. So they really pushed the envelope in a lot of ways with the Arteon. Not all of them were perfect execution, but they did a lot right, and overall it's an appealing package. It's just one you gotta pay for. But you do get a little side storage tray, so you know, that $48,000 is worth it, right? Volkswagen products have always appealed to a specific buyer. Someone who wants to come off as a little bit classier than the competition, a little bit more reserved, a little bit more mature, and the Arteon continues to deliver on that mission. But you can't help but notice the ways that Volkswagen has had to rein in its fun side a little bit. You're not getting a big, powerful engine option on the Arteon. You can't even get a manual transmission. No diesels, obviously. No hybrid option for this one. You're pretty much stuck with this 2-liter turbo and either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. Also, I don't really care about blank switches, but it is interesting that this is a top-level trim and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 blank switches here. I assume it's because they use this element for a lot of different vehicles, and there are just things that the Arteon doesn't have or need here. Still looks kind of strange. Alyssa pointed that out. But you got your wireless device charging, your wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, all your necessities. Pretty minimal amount of storage up here, but decent door pockets. Taking a look at it, there's no denying that this is a sharp car. They managed to do a big grille, but not make it look ridiculous. Big old 20-inch wheels. I know a lot of people have had trouble with damaging those wheels, so definitely be careful in potholes. I love how Volkswagen does this. Volkswagen and Mercedes is the only brands I know of that protect their rear view cameras underneath the badge. So it's hiding under there, keeps it clean. Huge trunk area in the Arteon, so I really appreciate that. You've got some side storage, you've got a compact spare, which is good to see. Actually, this is a full spare. Wow. And because this is a liftback, you've got a ton of room to fold those seats down and do all sorts of stuff with that space. It's definitely one of the more practical sedans, almost like a Kia Stinger. However, that sloping roof design does limit your rear seat space. Knee and leg room, totally fine, but headroom, 5'10", and I am hitting up against the roof when I lean back against the seat. That's a bit disappointing. You'd think they could have maybe dropped the seats down a little bit or made some sort of extra cutout in the head space to give just a little bit more. But anyone shorter than 5'10" should be just fine. You do have heated seats back here and a second row climate control, a USB Type-C and a 12-volt, and a flip-down armrest. So, Volkswagen Arteon. Let me know what you guys think. Is the style worth the coin with this one, or should you take your money and save some and go elsewhere? Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to see more on the Arteon, check the links in the description, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.